4.3 1.
I remember the first interview I ever had for a traineeship in the city. I had difficulty finding the company and had to run to the interview to avoid being late. I arrived covered in sweat. I must have looked and smelt terrible. It's enough to say that I didn't get the position. My advice would be to find out where the office is before the interview to avoid being late, and to use a good deodorant before going in.
2.
I used to be extremely nervous during interviews. There was this one time when there was a panel of 3 interviewers rather than just one. I was almost sick when I walked in the door. My voice started shaking throughout the interview. I thought I was going to have a panic attack. I have slowly learnt to overcome this problem. I try to think positively and confidently and relax. I take a couple of big, deep breaths before I go in, and then during the interview concentrate on breathing slowly and taking my time to answer the questions as calmly as I can.
3.
After 4 unsuccessful interviews, I decided to start practicing my technique with a friend to try and discover what was going wrong. Immediately my friend helped me to identify the problem. When I was answering the questions, I had a tendency to look at the floor and not back into the interviewer's eyes. It was really obvious as soon as I realised what I had been doing. Now I make a real effort to look into the interviewer's eyes, taking care not to stare, though. It's worked for me.
4.
In my first interview, not wanting to seem scared or nervous, I leaned back in the chair as I thought it would make me seem more relaxed. It was a terrible mistake. I must have looked like a lazy teenager watching TV. In my current job, I interview people on a regular basis, and my advice would be that it's important to sit up straight during the interview with your hands either on your lap or on the arm of the chair. When you answer questions, it's also a good idea to lean slightly forward and then lean back when you finish speaking. This will help the flow of the interview, as the interviewer will realise when you're finished.
5.
The last interview I had was for a secretarial position with a big international accountancy firm. I really wanted the job and was very excited and nervous about the interview. Right at the beginning of the interviewer offered me a coffee. I was so nervous that my hand started shaking uncontrollably and I spilled it all over myself. I was so embarrassed. I got cleaned up and then had the interview, still smelling of coffee. Amazingly, I still got the job. I'm sure they must have just felt sorry for me. But my advice would be never accept any drinks during an interview, except possibly a glass of water, as there is far too great a risk of disaster, especially if your hands shake like mine do. Play it safe and refuse the offer politely.